Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Lavinia, and oops, no, it's just me today. Uh, my name is Frank Lavinia. You may know me from franksworld.com, datadriven.tv, and impactquantum.com. So, a couple of things, and this is a bit of it's been a crazy time in Frank's world. I will kind of explain why the shortage of live streams, and it's all good. I mean, there's nothing horrible going on. There's just a lot of stressful things going on. Um, one is things are going awesome at Red Hat. We have a lot of interest and uptake in our offering of Red Hat OpenShift Data Science. So big shout out to that. We had a great webinar week and a half ago, and a lot of things have been going on. Because of some issues with the in-laws, um, my father-in-law is in a nursing home, and there's also something else going on involving lawyers. So because there's lawyers involved, I probably shouldn't say too much. Although I will say it is on the whole a net positive, but again, lawyers are involved. So I'm going to not say much. The reason that really I was just motivated to stream today is one, I haven't streamed in so long. I looked at the calendar and I was like, this is ridiculous. I last streamed on St. Patrick's Day, which is out of character for me. And two, so obviously I have podcasts. I have two podcasts with a third one kind of still in pre-production. And one of the biggest challenges, oddly enough, of running a podcast, and again, Andy and I have been doing this for the better part of 6 or 7 years. We're at 6 years. So we actually recorded our first episode of Data Driven in February 2017. And we were about 322 some odd shows in. And one of the things that's always been a challenge, honestly, the biggest challenge, is scheduling, right? And it's only gotten more complicated as time's gone on. As the kids get older, they have more activities. And one of the things I thought I was doing to alleviate the situation, let me do this sharing of my screen, was originally I used Calendly, right? Calendly worked out really well, like really well. And then let's see if I can share the Chrome tab. All right, I'll share out the Chrome tab. All right, so if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, there's a product called Microsoft Bookings, and it's part of the Office suite. Now, for those of you not paying attention or don't know, I have so again, time is really the only resource that you can never get back, right? You waste 5 minutes, you're never getting that back. You blow $5, I don't know, on a latte or whatever. I mean, okay, you do get value on it, but let's say you drop a $5 bill. I mean, it's a nuisance, but you can make that $5 back, right? And if you're wondering why the angle is different today, we are having new windows installed in the house, and this adds to the ambient pressure of what's going on inside my noggin. All right, so one of the things that we've done to alleviate some of the scheduling was this was a huge blocker the first couple of years of Data Driven, was not having basically it was back and forth emails. So, and again, because we have two co-hosts, and a guest, that is a minimum of 3 schedules you kind of have to line up. Now, that generally works. However, as we try to expand into first 2 different shows, and it's really become a thing. And I don't want to spoil her big debut, but we are adding a third host, a third person to the mix, and to help with Impact Quantum, because she's really into quantum computing and she's an awesome person. I've worked with her before. It's not Noelle, although Noelle, if you're watching, you're always welcome to join the team. But just the logistics of Andy and I figuring this out. The nightmare that is Microsoft Office bookings. So let me explain. So most people are familiar with Calendly, right? So most people are familiar with Calendly, right? It's a great product. I'm not. I don't get money from this. I'm not getting sponsored from this, right? So you set this up, and basically what you do is you tie it to your calendars. Now, because of reasons large and small, I effectively have three calendars, right? I have my personal calendar. I have uh, I have my work calendar. And for legacy reasons, I have a second personal calendar that my wife still puts stuff on, although we are much closer to ending that. So hopefully I can get it down to two calendars. So my first calendar is obviously the Red Hat calendar, the work calendar, right? I don't want to schedule a podcast recording and miss a meeting, right? Um, so the other thing is that um, hold this thought. I'm having a moment because you can't hear it, but they are drilling into the wall right above me. New windows look awesome, by the way. I'll share some pictures if anyone's interested. But the short of it is that, and that's why this this is not covered anymore. So the lighting is absolutely horrible today. Let me see if I can put the chat up so I can kind of minimize the glare on your eyes. And I see that the background image is gone too. This is quite the Wednesday. All right, so basically, because I have three calendars, effectively three calendars, and this was important um, when I was, I guess, not last summer, but the summer before, interviewing for jobs, right? Because the startup I was at, although they are still in business, I am surprised that they still are. Then I joined another company, and then I joined Red Hat. All right, so this was kind of a problem that I thought I'd solve, right? So you just go to Calendly. So, and the cool thing about Calendly is you go, you pick out a thing. I can change the type of meetings. Am I even showing this? No, I'm not. I can show the type. I can set up the type of meetings, whether it's a 30-minute one-on-one or if it was a technical interview. They would just. I would basically say to recruiters, here's my calendar. Let the computers figure it out. Right? Awesome. It worked out really well. Except the challenge was that I couldn't get Andy's calendar into the mix. All right. So what that meant was just because it would be clear on my schedule doesn't mean it'd be clear on his, which is why historically, if you go back through our episode catalog, and our traffic would really appreciate if you did, and there's some good gems in there, is that whenever there was like a one person making the podcast because the other one couldn't make it, with the exception of one episode that's not released yet, and that was part of a family crisis. It all kind of comes together. That Anyway, that's why it was me. It wasn't me being an egomaniac, right? It was literally just me because I had the guest tied to my calendar. So then I kind of talked to Andy and I said, "Hey, let's see if we can fix this." And he goes, "But I'd have to add his calendar with all of his personal stuff that I didn't no offense, I didn't really want to see, and he didn't want to share, right? So that got me thinking, like, and then I looked at what the Calendly option is, and the Calendly option was spend more money with us. Basically, you can create different user accounts and blah 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 blah. So that got me thinking, like, oh, well, that's not really ideal. So then that got me thinking about using a tool that I had. Now, I have not been a secret about having kind of a family tenant, right? So I have an M365. I think it's an E3 license. They used to call it an E3 license when I worked at Microsoft, and it's awesome, right? We have SharePoint sites for the kids for this ongoing legal situation. Where we share documents, photos, and all that sort of stuff. Again, not going to go into what that is, but and I know it's secure, I know it's shareable, and I know this is all positive in the sense of that I am still, despite moving away from Windows because of Windows 11, I'm still a big fan of Microsoft. The Microsoft, has been good to me, and the Office or M365 product, whatever they're calling it now, is a pretty solid product, right? I mean, like it's solid, except for this one. So this is called Bookings. And if I go to, is it going to let me go to the about the bookings page? No, 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 I don't want to show my email. All right. All right. So you go to booking page. So bookings is basically the Calendly kind of option, right? And this is the alternative to Calendly that is integrated with Office. And for one, I thought that's great because one, I can get Andy um, as a federated user on my tenant from his personal calendar. And then that way he can share his calendar. Well, it turns out that's not as easy as it sounds. And so we never really were able to get that. Now, again, we worked for multiple years with kind of this situation. And we worked with a situation before, right? So that wasn't a big deal. What was a big deal was when you go and somebody books okay, when somebody books um, a meeting. Oh crap! I'm sharing personal information. Crap! I'm gonna have to delete this video. And then I'll repost it with some stuff blurred out. Oh, it's been that type of day, isn't it? All right. So, yeah, yeah. Anyway, what happens is when you book a new meeting. Let's see if I can do this. Be our guest. When you book a new podcast, right? Um, go here. We have the instructions, and then it says here, schedule time with using our online calendar. What'll happen is it's supposed to block out time on both our calendars. And we encourage people to do this like a week or two in advance, like enough time that we can tell them, hey, this time doesn't work for Andy. What's happened, and again, I won't click on anything because I don't want to share any personal information because that's super annoying. Let's see. What happened originally was what's happening, and this is the real bug that has really caused a lot of headaches, right? And the bug is that when you schedule a new appointment, it will randomly pick whether it's Andy or me, even though I told it to book us both, right? And you can imagine what's going to happen if when we add a third person to this equation, it's going to be a nightmare. So he had a recording scheduled at one time, I had it at another. And something like this happened before, but I assumed it might have been a time zone thing because I was traveling. But no, it was bookings messing this up, right? And this is a very fundamental thing. There's no excuse for this, right? I'm going a little bit on a rant here, so warning. There's no excuse for this. This is simple stuff. I mean, Calendly is a small company. I don't know how many people are at Calendly. How many people work at Calendly? 435 employees. And they're based in Atlanta, Georgia. Um, and we can see their headquarters. Dun, dun, dun. So they're in Atlanta. There's only like 400 or 500 of them. They've been around for 10 years. And really, Microsoft, you can't like put a couple engineers to work on this? Like, really? So today was the straw that broke the camel's back. There's a lot of things going on at home, right? Both with this legal situation, the Windows getting installed and finding a quiet place to record a podcast, right? With that going on. Then there's a general mess and chemical smell of the window sealants, which gives me a headache. It's the start of allergy season. Um, so I'm a little crabby, right? I'll put that out there. But this is something that should work, right? And again, this is not a knock on Microsoft or anything else inside the Office suite. This should be a lockdown, simple thing to do. Like, this is not a knock on that. I have, when something's booked on my personal calendar, my Office 365 calendar, I have a Power App flow that will automatically block time on the two other calendars. Right. So that way, when something's booked, it's blocked everywhere and nobody else can overschedule it. This was a problem both yesterday and today was the straw that broke the camel's back. Right. This has caused so much chaos and confusion. It's better to have no calendar solution than this, right? And I there are words I want to use. And honestly, like it really became like, all right, how much did the Calendly want again? Because this is really impacting our flow, it's impacting our growth. And you know what? I think it was like $15-20 a month. The amount of aggravation that this has caused, it's worth me cutting back 3 lattes a month. You know what I mean? Or two now, I guess. Right? It's just not worth it. And the cool thing with Calendly, again, maybe I'll have a different opinion after we put it into production and stuff like that. But this is just absolutely ridiculous. There is no, and I mean zero excuse for this product to be so horrible, right? Or this random, right? It's not the horrible, right? The user interface is cool and all that. It's just so random. Like you book something, am I assigned to it? Is Andy assigned to it? If we add this third person, which I don't want to say her name because I don't want to steal her thunder, when we do the grand announcement, which if you're watching, this is part of why it's been such a slow go, right? Because I know we talked in early February. I think we talked before I got stuck in Dallas in the ice storm, or around that time. Um, Long story short, if anyone within the sound of my voice who works on bookings wants to get honest, raw feedback, you know where to find me. But I mean, this could be a great product. This could be an awesome product. It's certainly very easy to integrate into Office 365, other things. But apparently, Calendly has a lot of connectors too into different systems. So, and the other thing that was really annoying, and this was a big draw, right? So what would happen would be somebody would book. This is before we switched to bookings, sometime in November, and this has been chaos, right? If you look at our production schedule, well, actually, we've had a pretty good production schedule, so we were able to kind of work around this for the most part. But having two epic failures in back-to-back days in the middle of everything else that's going on, life is complicated as it is. I don't need bookings making it more complicated. And a big part of this is just simple stuff, right? Um, I've been scheduled on stuff, didn't know it. Andy's been scheduled on stuff, and it like because he was scheduled on, I didn't know about it. They're supposed to book us both, right? And then at that point, he can tell me whether or not there's a conflict. Um, but what's actually happening is that it'll randomly assign people, right? Now, because there's two of us, I'm a data scientist, so I know my statistics, right? It's 1 out of 2, right? That kind of failure rate, we can at least manage that because I can talk to him. If we add a third person, now it's 1 out of 3, and that kind of does start going up exponential. God forbid we want to add a fourth person, right? And remember, it's n+1 because there's always a guest, right? Or almost always a guest. So now instead of dealing with 3 schedules, then they would go to possibly 4 people's schedules that have to be kind of sorted and figured out, which would just it's just not worth it. And having 2 epic failures back to back is what made me this mad. So then Andy got me this, which is a Grant Cardone button, right? So if you click it, so he always says a quote from Grant Cardone, and there's one of them that's particularly inspirational. I won't quote it directly, but it basically encourages someone not to be a complainer. Use a different word, and just get whatever it is you're done. Right? Everyone's sick of complaining. Here I am complaining, ironically. But ultimately, it really became. It's just not sustainable. Like until this is fixed, and this is kind of a big deal. Like this is the type of thing like you have these calendars, you have these phones, right? Because you can kind of shift some of your cognitive um, skills or cognitive energy onto letting the computer handle the calendar. And this has consistently messed things up. It's messed up podcast recordings 2 times this week, probably 5, 6 other times in the last 5 months. And it's also messed up family stuff and stuff that goes in the calendar there twice, at least twice that I can think of. I'm sure my wife will tell me that it's probably more. I I, I don't have time for this, right? Ain't nobody has time for this, right? Ain't nobody got time for this, as the woman once said. And it, yeah. So um, I don't understand. This is basic stuff. This shouldn't be complicated, right? And they're marketing booking to like salons and kind of small businesses and stuff like that, or dog groomers or whatever. And what if you have a situation where you need to book 2 people, right? You need technician A and technician B, whatever. Dog groomer A, it's a big dog. You need somebody else to kind of. What sorts of confusion that's going to be? I'm a technologist, right? And it confused the living you know what out of me. what chances like a regular person have, right? I This is not reducing the cognitive load. This is actually making it worse. So I'm switching back to Calendly, and but don't worry, the link to, all right. All right. The link here, uh, you just keep going to the be our guest, and then this thing here, schedule time to use our calendar. This is going. Oh, I have to update that because that's the old style of art. But anyway, I know it really. Hey, Thomas, how's it going? I hate to turn my live streams into rants, but sometimes you just gotta, right? I mean, it's just, and I'm fairly Microsoft friendly, right? I mean, I every PC I have, with the exception of exception of my laptop, which is now running on Linux, is all Windows, right? I've run Windows since I think Windows 3.11, really, right? And I've been part of every early access beta, and I've run every next version since you know Windows NT 3.3.5. I had early access to that. And thanks, George. How's it going? Hello, hello to you too, sir. It really, it's one of those things where you look at, and it's a big company, right? It's hundreds of thousands of people, right? So you can't put the whole blame on them. But really, like seriously, somebody's got to put more resources into the bookings team, because if it confuses me, I like to think I'm a smart guy. Some people may disagree with that, but if it confuses me, it's a product that is um it's a product that has so much potential, right? And it would be so much easier, right? Because I would get it with my Office subscription. Um, um, I got it with my Office subscription, so it would just make it all one bill, one thing, one house to kind of have everything in. Oh, cool. Thank you, George. And then Thomas says that the new director is in the house. Hey, George. Yeah, George, DM me if you want any specific feedback. It's just, I liked it when I first saw it. I'm not gonna lie, I liked it. The problem has been kind of how it works from day to day, and it was really like these two major foul ups, and that's not the word I originally used in my phone call to Andy. Um, um, has been was really kind of like back to back with everything else going on in my life, right? I'm not complaining about that, because honestly, getting all the windows replaced in the house, that's a blessing, right? That's a great problem to have. My dad used to tell me, like, you never get rid of problems, right? You just trade up to better problems, right? I'm not quite in the which Lambo should I drive to work today type problem space, but it's certainly a lot better than the problems I used to have, right? Like, and that's what my dad said. There's one point in his life he didn't know if he was going to eat. That was his problem. Then it became, oh crap, the car broke down, right? And then it became, like stuff like that. Like you just graduate to better problems. And as problems go, this is actually pretty good. And again, with this legal case that's going on, this thing going on, it's actually kind of a net positive. Obviously, if it goes our way, it's a real net positive. If it doesn't go our way, um, well, I probably shouldn't say anything else, but but with everything going on, right, and with the kids getting old enough to have activities, I need my calendar to be rock solid, right? And I can live with you know a formatting problem here and there, but I can't live without my calendar telling me things that aren't true, or telling Andy one thing when it's telling me another thing, or not telling us, right? It's just all, and it's random, right? I can't be like, oh well, this must be the problem. Nope. It's really frustrating. So anyone within the sound of my voice, I appreciate the offering, George. It could be such a great product, but I had to go back to Calendly for now. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Calendaring is key. Workflow problems are difficult. I will say though, so one of the things that I talked about before you joined the stream was, um, back when I was interviewing for jobs, I had Calendly back then, and thank God, right? But one of the things I would do is I would have Calendly, but we would book it to. I picked one calendar to be my calendar of record. That was my M365 private tenant calendar. And then I have a flow that watches for stuff that gets added to that, and then I block the time on all the other calendars, right? So all the other calendars are reflective of the truth, and that one source of truth, as a data scientist, you know how big I am on that. That one source of truth is my M365 calendar, right? So the workflow problems are difficult, but that's the thing. Like this part of the equation should be easy, right? You make it, you look, it goes in, it makes an appointment, it texts me and Andy, right? And then it blocks the time on his calendar and my calendar, sends an invite out, right? Now right now we um, couldn't find a way to read his calendar, right, without giving everything away. Um, but then that was fine because usually people book 2-3 weeks in advance, so we can kind of sort that out and adjust. But what happened was, again, I'm repeating this, so forgive me if I am. Is we would go back. It would randomly assign a particular person to the recording, right? So sometimes it's me, sometimes it's Andy, and if we are going to grow, and I think we will, adding a third person to the mix would it starts becoming an exponentially complex problem. And honestly, Calendly's got this figured out. I've never had a problem, a scheduling issue with Calendly. Because the workflow I have, the Power App flow is tied to my Outlook calendar and not the bookings, I can swap that part out, right? So, which is what I'm going to do. And yes, calendaring is key. I mean, I live and die by my calendar. I got in trouble with my wife because she's like, "Oh, we got to do this night." I was like, "Was it on the calendar?" Right? Which I don't recommend responding that way. Yeah, sure. Thanks, George. I will definitely write a few paragraphs on it. The irony, of course, is that Microsoft has the ability to have an AI generate a few paragraphs on this, but can't sort out a simple scheduling problem. Um, I kid. I still love Microsoft. I'm not a shareholder anymore, but the shares were good for me. But and they are a trusted partner within the Red Hat OpenShift ecosystem. Um, Thought I'd get that out there. But again, so if you have scheduled a podcast with us or you try to schedule a calendar, I want to apologize. It's my fault. I assume responsibility for this. I am working on fixing it because one way or the other, I got to fix this. I mean, anything short of building my own solution, right? Which totally could do, like I did with Dingo, right? And it's interesting because you'll notice that the the um, the blog post frequency has stayed up quite consistently, and that's Dingo, right? And not patting myself on the back, but Dingo is fairly simple actually. And what's cool is I ported it from C# to Python now. You with the help of Chat GPT, oddly enough. It would have taken a lot longer to do it. I could have done it, but the fact I was able to do it, and I've got feature parity from like 0 lines of code to feature parity in about 24 hours, like literally on New Year's Day. And then now it has stuff that the .NET version doesn't have. I am pondering what I'm going to do with it. Am I gonna open source it? Am I going to expose it as an API? I don't know yet. But if you have any thoughts on that, let me know in the comments below. And because I did reveal some PII accidentally, because the user interface on bookings is problematic, um, I may have to delete this video. So that's it for me. And based on what Thomas said, the new directors in the house, I believe that means that somebody got a promotion. So if that's the case, congratulations. If that's not the case, thanks everyone for joining, and thank you for the offer to help, George. I have to go because work beckons. All right, so you have a great day, everyone, and I'll keep everyone informed of my calendar drama that is going on. And then as soon as the lawyers allow, I will explain the other drama that's going on. Don't worry, it's all, well, I don't want to say it's all good, but we'll see.